There is something many women don't realize when they're hurting after a breakup, a separation, or a period of distance. They think the pain they feel today is the same pain he feels. It isn't. Men and women often process loss differently. A woman usually feels the emptiness immediately. She notices the silence, the missing conversations, the absence of connection. But many men don't feel the full weight of losing someone right away. At first, they may enjoy the freedom, the extra space, and the lack of responsibility. They convince themselves they are fine. But time has a way of revealing truths that emotions hide. As the days turn into weeks, reality begins to settle in. The laughter he took for granted is gone. The support he expected is no longer there. The woman who brought warmth into his life is no longer within reach. That's when the silence starts speaking louder than words ever could. This is why so many women make the mistake of interrupting the process. They reach out too soon. They try to remind him of their value before he has had the chance to experience their absence. Real understanding comes from loss, not explanation. When a person no longer has access to what they once took for granted, they begin to understand its worth. If you're struggling today, remember this: not every battle needs your involvement. Sometimes time becomes your greatest ally. While you're healing, growing, and rebuilding yourself, time is quietly doing a job that no argument, text message, or emotional conversation could ever accomplish. The longer he goes without you, the more he is forced to face a reality he never expected. And that reality can be far more powerful than anything you could say. One of the hardest truths for many women to accept is that people rarely understand the value of something while they have unlimited access to it. This is not because they are cruel or intentionally ungrateful. It is simply human nature. We become familiar with what is consistently present in our lives. The messages that arrive every morning, the phone calls that always get answered, the emotional support that is available whenever we need it. After a while, these things can begin to feel normal. What once felt special becomes expected. What once felt precious becomes routine. This is why so many women find themselves exhausted in relationships. They give more, explain more, sacrifice more, and love harder, hoping that eventually their effort will be noticed and appreciated. They believe that if they can just communicate their value clearly enough, the other person will finally understand what they bring to the relationship. But value is not always recognized through explanation. Sometimes it is recognized through absence. Think about the things in life that people often take for granted: good health, loyal friendships, supportive family members, peaceful homes. Most people don't wake up every day celebrating these blessings because they are used to them. Yet the moment one of those things disappears, their importance becomes crystal clear. The same principle often applies to relationships. When a woman is constantly present in a man's life, he may not fully notice the countless ways she contributes to his emotional well-being. He may not realize how much comfort her voice brings him after a difficult day. He may not recognize how much confidence he gains from knowing someone believes in him. He may overlook the stability, encouragement, and warmth she provides because they have become part of his normal routine. Then one day, that routine changes. The messages stop arriving. The conversations become silent. The emotional support is no longer there. The person who was always available is suddenly absent. At first, he may not react strongly. In fact, this stage often confuses women. They expect immediate panic, immediate regret, or immediate realization. Instead, there may be little visible reaction. He may appear fine. He may seem unaffected. He may even look relieved. What many women don't understand is that clarity rarely arrives in the first few days. The early stage of absence is often filled with distraction distractions. Life continues moving. Work remains busy. Friends provide entertainment. Daily responsibilities occupy attention. During this period, a person can convince themselves that nothing important has changed. But time has a way of stripping away distractions. Eventually, ordinary moments begin to expose what is missing. He hears a joke and instinctively thinks about telling you. Something exciting happens, and he reaches for his phone before realizing you're no longer the person he shares everything with. He experiences a difficult day and notices there is no comforting voice waiting on the other side of the conversation. These moments seem small, but they are powerful. They create awareness. Awareness creates reflection. Reflection creates clarity, and clarity creates understanding. This is why absence can become such a powerful teacher. It forces people to experience life without the things they once had access to. No explanation can create the same lesson. No argument can produce the same realization. No emotional speech can match the impact of genuine absence. Many women make the mistake of interrupting this process because silence feels uncomfortable. They become anxious. They worry that he is forgetting them. They fear that distance means permanent loss. As a result, they reach out repeatedly, trying to remind him of their value before he has had the opportunity to discover it on his own. But every time you rush to fill the silence, you remove the opportunity for reflection. You rescue him from feeling your absence. You ease the discomfort that could have led to understanding. You shorten a lesson that time was trying to teach. This doesn't mean you should disappear as a strategy to manipulate someone. Real absence is not a game. It is not about creating pain or forcing guilt. It is about respecting yourself enough to stop overextending your energy where it is not being appreciated. There's a significant difference between chasing appreciation and allowing appreciation to develop naturally. When you constantly seek recognition, your focus remains on convincing someone else of your worth. When you step back, you allow them to reach their own conclusions. And conclusions people reach on their own are often far more powerful than anything they are told. The beautiful thing about distance is that it reveals truth in both directions. It reveals whether he genuinely valued your presence. It also reveals whether you have been undervaluing yourself. Many women discover during periods of separation that they have spent so much time focusing on someone else's needs that they have neglected their own growth. They realize they have postponed dreams, ignored personal goals, and placed their happiness in someone else's hands. That realization can become a turning point. Instead of spending every day wondering whether he misses you, you begin asking yourself important questions. What do you want from your future? What kind of life do you want to build? What kind of woman do you want to become? The answers to those questions matter far more than any temporary validation. Because while absence may help someone else recognize your value, it should also help you recognize it. The truth is that the right people do not fully appreciate you because you constantly remind them to. They appreciate you because they experience the difference between having you in their life and not having you there. Your kindness becomes more visible. Your loyalty becomes more meaningful. Your support becomes more memorable. Your love becomes more valuable. And none of that happens through endless explanations. It happens through experience. So if you're in a season of silence, don't rush to fill every empty space. Don't assume that immediate reactions determine long-term feelings. Sometimes the most important realizations take time. Sometimes the lessons that change people the most arrive slowly. And sometimes the very absence that feels painful today is creating a clarity that could never have existed while you were always there. One of the biggest misconceptions about relationships is the belief that a person's reaction immediately after a separation tells the whole story. Many women look at a man's behavior in the days or weeks following distance and assume they have their answer. If he appears happy, relaxed, or unaffected, they conclude that he never cared. If he doesn't call right away, they assume he has already moved on. If he seems to be enjoying life, they convince themselves that the relationship meant nothing to to him. But emotions are rarely that simple. The reality is that people process loss differently, and what looks like happiness is often something entirely different. In many cases, the first feeling a person experiences after a breakup or a period of distance is not sadness. It is relief. Relief comes from the removal of pressure. There are no difficult conversations to navigate. There are no disagreements to solve. There are no expectations to meet. For a while, life can feel lighter. A man may focus on his freedom, his hobbies, his friends, or his daily routine. He may genuinely believe he is doing just fine. The problem is that relief is temporary. Relief is not the same thing as fulfillment. Relief is the absence of tension, but fulfillment comes from connection, purpose, and meaningful relationships. One feeling fades quickly, while the other takes much longer to understand. This is where time begins doing its work. As days become weeks, and weeks become months, the excitement of independence often starts to lose its shine. The things that once felt exciting become ordinary. The distractions that helped occupy his mind become part of a routine. The freedom that seemed so enjoyable no longer feels new. And when the noise begins to settle, reality starts speaking. He notices that nobody checks on him the way you did. Nobody remembers the small details you remembered. Nobody encourages him in quite the same way. Nobody understands certain parts of him the way you did. These realizations don't arrive all at once. They arrive quietly. A song reminds him of a memory. A place reminds him of a conversation. A difficult day reminds him of your support. A success reminds him of the person who used to celebrate his victories. Little by little, he begins seeing things differently. This is the stage where regret often begins to grow. Many people think regret is an instant emotion, but it usually isn't. Regret develops over time. It starts as a thought, then it becomes a question. Eventually, it becomes a feeling that is difficult to ignore. He begins wondering whether he appreciated you enough. He starts questioning decisions that once felt certain. He thinks about moments he could have handled differently. He remembers arguments that now seem insignificant. He recalls acts of love that he once overlooked. The strange thing about regret is that it often appears when there is nothing left to fix immediately. By the time someone fully understands what they lost, the other person may already be healing, growing, and moving forward. This is why patience is so important for women who are going through heartbreak. Many women expect immediate results. They want immediate answers. They want immediate validation that they mattered. When they don't receive it, they panic. They start chasing explanations. They send emotional messages. They try to force clarity before the other person has had the opportunity to reach it naturally. But understanding cannot be rushed. Some lessons require time. Some realizations require distance. Some emotions require silence before they can fully develop. That is why your focus should never be on trying to speed up someone else's emotional process. Your focus should be on your own healing. While time is revealing things to him, it should also be transforming you. The healthiest response to separation is not waiting by the phone. It is rebuilding yourself. It is reconnecting with your confidence. It is remembering who you were before you became consumed by someone else's choices. When you invest your energy into growth instead of obsession, something powerful happens. You begin to create a life that no longer revolves around whether another person realizes your value. And that changes everything. Because true confidence comes from knowing your worth even when someone else fails to see it. The woman who spends every day monitoring his actions remains emotionally trapped. Her happiness becomes dependent on what he does next. But the woman who uses that same time to strengthen herself gains something much more valuable. She gains freedom. She gains peace. She gains self-respect. She gains a deeper understanding of what she deserves. Ironically, this is often the point where the dynamic shifts. When a woman stops chasing validation and starts focusing on her own life, her energy changes. She becomes more grounded, more confident, more attractive. Not because she is trying to impress anyone, but because she is no longer operating from a place of fear. And while she is growing, time continues working in the background. The memories become stronger. The comparisons become clearer. The questions become harder to ignore. A man may realize that many of the qualities he thought he could easily replace were actually rare. Loyalty is rare. Genuine care is rare. Emotional support is rare. A woman who truly stands by you during difficult seasons is rare. When those things are gone, their value often becomes impossible to deny. But regardless of whether he eventually reaches that realization, your journey cannot depend on it. The purpose of time is not simply to make him miss you. The purpose of time is to reveal truth. Sometimes that truth leads someone back to what they lost. Sometimes it teaches them a lesson they carry for the rest of their life. And sometimes it helps you discover that your future was never meant to depend on someone else's regret. Either way, time has a remarkable way of exposing what truly mattered. What seems insignificant in the moment often becomes precious in hindsight. And the longer someone lives without the love, support, and presence they once took for granted, the harder it becomes to ignore what they have lost. One of the most important lessons a woman can learn after experiencing heartbreak is that her life does not stop because someone chose to leave, pull away, or become distant. In the beginning, it can certainly feel that way. The pain is heavy. Every memory seems to follow you. Every quiet moment becomes an opportunity to think about what happened, what went wrong, and whether things could have turned out differently. It's natural to feel lost during that season. When you've invested your emotions, your time, and your heart into someone, the absence they leave behind can feel overwhelming. But there comes a moment when every woman faces a choice. She can spend her days looking backward, hoping for answers, waiting for messages, replaying old conversations, and analyzing every detail of the past. Or she can begin looking forward. The women who become truly unforgettable are not the ones who spend years trapped in their heartbreak. They are the ones who decide that pain will not be the final chapter of their story. Growth is a powerful thing because it changes more than your circumstances. It changes your mindset. It changes the way you see yourself. It changes the standards you set for your life. Most importantly, it reminds you that your identity was never supposed to be built around another person's presence. Far too many women lose themselves while trying to keep someone else. They stop pursuing personal goals. They neglect their own happiness. They postpone dreams. They make sacrifices that slowly disconnect them from who they really are. Without realizing it, their entire world begins revolving around the relationship. Then, when the relationship changes, they feel as though they have lost themselves too. This is why growth after heartbreak is not simply beneficial. It is necessary. You have to reconnect with the woman you were before disappointment convinced you that your value depended on someone else's choices. You have to remember your strengths. You have to rediscover your passions. You have to rebuild the confidence that may have been shaken by rejection or distance. And that process starts with small decisions. It starts with choosing yourself every day, choosing to get out of bed even when you don't feel like it, choosing to take care of your health, choosing to invest in your career, choosing to learn something new, choosing to spend time with people who genuinely care about you, choosing to create a life that feels meaningful regardless of who is or isn't standing beside you. These decisions may seem insignificant in the moment, but they create transformation over time. Every day you choose growth over bitterness, you become stronger. Every day you choose healing over obsession, you become wiser. Every day you choose self-respect over desperation, you become more confident. The beautiful thing about personal growth is that it cannot be taken away from you. Relationships can end. Circumstances can change. People can come and go. But the strength you build within yourself remains. Many women make the mistake of believing that becoming unforgettable means making someone jealous or proving that they were wrong. They think growth is about showing another person what they lost. results. But genuine growth isn't performed for an audience. It isn't about revenge. It isn't about making someone regret their decision. It is about becoming the best version of yourself because you deserve that version. When your growth is motivated by revenge, your happiness remains connected to someone else's reaction. But when your growth is motivated by self-love, your happiness belongs to you. That difference matters because there's tremendous freedom in reaching a place where you no longer need validation from the person who hurt you. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your peace no longer depends on whether he calls. Your confidence no longer depends on whether he misses you. Your happiness no longer depends on whether he regrets losing you. That is true power. And ironically, that is often when people begin noticing the transformation. Confidence has a presence that cannot be faked. When a woman genuinely heals, she carries herself differently. She speaks with certainty. She sets healthier boundaries. She stops accepting less than she deserves. She no longer feels the need to chase attention because she understands her worth. People notice that energy, not because she is trying to attract attention, but because authenticity is naturally attractive. A woman who knows her value doesn't need to announce it. It shows in the way she lives. It shows in the standards she maintains. It shows in the respect she has for herself. And when a man eventually sees that transformation, it often creates a different kind of realization. He notices that she didn't spend her life waiting. She didn't stay stuck in the same emotional place. She didn't allow heartbreak to define her future. Instead, she evolved. She became stronger. She became more independent. She became more confident. She became someone who learned from the experience instead of being destroyed by it. That kind of growth leaves a lasting impression because it demonstrates resilience. It shows that your life is bigger than one relationship. It shows that your future is bigger than one disappointment. It shows that your identity is bigger than one person's opinion of you. The truth is that unforgettable women are not unforgettable because they are perfect. They are unforgettable because they continue growing even when life gives them reasons to quit. They choose healing when bitterness would be easier. They choose self-respect when chasing would feel more comfortable. They choose progress when staying stuck would feel familiar. And over time, those choices create a version of themselves that is stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled than they ever imagined. So if you're in a season of heartbreak, don't spend all your energy wondering whether someone is thinking about you. Think about the woman you are becoming. Focus on the life you are building. Invest in your own growth with the same energy you once invested in the relationship. Because the woman who keeps growing becomes unforgettable for a simple reason. She refuses to let pain stop her from becoming everything she was meant to be. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forces in relationships. Many women fear it because silence feels uncomfortable. When communication stops, the mind immediately starts searching for answers. Questions appear that seem impossible to ignore. What is he thinking? Does he miss me? Has he moved on? Did I mean anything to him at all? The absence of answers can feel overwhelming. And because of that discomfort, many women rush to fill the silence before it has a chance to do its work. The truth is that silence has a language of its own. Words can be ignored. Explanations can be dismissed. Arguments can be forgotten. But silence creates space for reflection. And reflection often reveals truths that people were too distracted to see before. When you constantly reach out, constantly explain yourself, and constantly try to keep a connection alive, there is very little room for another person to experience life without you. They remain comfortable. They remain familiar with your presence. They never fully feel the difference between having you and losing you. But when the silence begins, something changes. For the first time, there is no message waiting for him, no call checking on him, No conversation to brighten a difficult day. No familiar presence making life feel easier. At first, he may not pay much attention. Human beings are creatures of habit, and it often takes time to notice when a habit has disappeared. The first few days may pass without much thought. The first week may feel normal, but eventually moments begin to appear that expose the empty space. He sees something funny and instinctively thinks about sharing it with you. He experiences a challenge and realizes there is nobody offering the same encouragement. He remembers a conversation and notices how different life feels now. These moments are quiet, but they matter. This is where silence becomes powerful. It creates awareness, and awareness creates value. Many women mistakenly believe that their value decreases when they stop talking. They think that if they are not constantly reminding someone of their existence, they will be forgotten. But genuine value does not work that way. Think about the people who have made a significant impact on your life. You do not remember them because they demanded attention every day. You remember them because of the way they made you feel. You remember the kindness they showed, the support they provided, and the role they played during important moments of your life. Real value leaves an imprint. And when someone leaves an imprint, silence often makes that impact more visible, not less. This is especially true when the relationship contained genuine love, care, and emotional connection. The memories attached to those experiences do not disappear overnight. In many cases, they become stronger because there are no new interactions competing with them. The mind has a fascinating way of revisiting meaningful experiences when given enough quiet. That is why silence often becomes louder with time. The longer someone goes without hearing your voice, the more they remember it. The longer they go without seeing your smile, the more they recall it. The longer they go without your presence, the more noticeable that absence becomes. This does not happen because you are trying to manipulate anyone. It happens because meaningful connections leave lasting impressions. At the same time, silence serves another purpose that many women overlook. It protects your dignity. There is a difference between fighting for a relationship and fighting for someone's attention. When you repeatedly chase someone who has chosen distance, you risk abandoning your own self-respect. You begin placing their response above your own emotional well-being. Your days become controlled by whether they answer, whether they call, or whether they show interest. That is an exhausting way to live. Silence allows you to step out of that cycle. It gives you the opportunity to focus on yourself rather than someone else's choices. It allows you to reclaim emotional energy that has been invested in seeking validation. Most importantly, it reminds you that your worth is not determined by how quickly someone responds to your absence. A woman's value does not disappear because someone fails to recognize it immediately. A flower remains beautiful even if someone walks past without noticing it. A diamond remains valuable even if someone fails to appreciate it. Likewise, your kindness, loyalty, intelligence, compassion, and strength remain valuable whether another person acknowledges them or not. This is one of the most empowering realizations a woman